Hey guys, it's Peyton and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in June. I read 9.5 books, maybe 10.5 books if you count a book that hasn't been published yet that I beta read, but this is like probably my best reading month all year long. This is some people's regular, but for me, this is pretty good. So I'm pretty excited that I read so much. I'm super hyped to talk about it because how many books did I give 5 stars? Let's look at my reading journal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 9 books. I'm not a very critical reader to begin with, so like take that with a grain of salt, but I really enjoyed what I was reading, so I'm really excited to go ahead and talk about it since I loved so many of these books. There was one I really didn't like, but it's okay. The first book that I read in June was A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This book is written in verse and it sparked my whole interest in books written in verse because I just thought this book was so beautiful. This is definitely one of the books from this month that I gave a 5 out of 5 stars because it just was such a powerful read. And I feel like I read this forever ago. I have a whole vlog of me reading this. I read 2 books in one day, so definitely go watch that if you want really in-depth feelings about this. But this is about a boy named Will. His brother, his older brother Sean, just got shot and killed, and he thinks he knows who must have killed him. He thinks it's their old friend that recently went in a gang, and he has always been told his whole life that there's 3 rules. 1 is no crying, number 2 is no snitching, and number 3, get revenge no matter what. His brother taught him that. Like, he always has gone by that, and now that his brother just got murdered, he wants to get revenge because he loved his brother. And he lives in an apartment, I think on the 7th or 8th floor, and it shows him going down every single floor, and as he goes down a floor, the doors open and another person comes on and he talks to them. And pretty much it's just a bunch of conversations, him trying to figure out, is he really about to go murder this person that killed his brother? It was really powerful. By the end of it, it all comes together. It's like a full circle moment, and it was just really fantastic. I highly recommend it for sure. The next book that I read was Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This is another book I gave 5 stars, and I also read this one in my I read 2 books in one day vlog that I recently had, and this one obviously was absolutely fantastic as well. So well done. It is such a short read, and I was worried that that would make me feel like things were underdeveloped, because typically when books are so short, things just doesn't feel like it connects and fully develops the way it should. Like, the pacing will feel too fast. But for this book, it didn't feel that way. I just love the main character so much. His name is Justice. He is a black teenage boy. He goes to a high school that is primarily white people, and he's just been around those people all his life. He has one black friend. His name is Manny, and Manny is friends with a whole bunch of douchebag white boys who say a bunch of racist things, and he kind of just lets them do it at this point. And Justice has an encounter with a police officer. He ends up getting arrested, and ever since that happened to him and he realized how much he's just getting judged by his skin color, and it didn't matter what his intentions were. He was actually trying to help somebody, but the police officer just judged him immediately and arrested him. He realized, like, wow, people seriously are stereotyping me just from the look of me. That opens his eyes, and he starts to want to open Manny's eyes as well, and they just have their whole friendship aspect. And I don't want to go much more into it because spoilers. And my mom just got home. My dog! Why? She always gotta freak out. Oh my gosh. There's also a romance in this book that I wasn't expecting. It was interracial. This white girl, and I really liked her. She was like, gave me the feminist vibes. Like, I just thought she was super cool, and surprisingly I actually thought the relationship was cute even through such a short book. This book was just so well done, and I definitely think it's super important to read. Like, you need to read this book, please. The next book I read in June was Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colthurst. This book I ended up giving a 2 out of 5 stars, unfortunately. I just didn't really vibe with it. This is like a fantasy female-female romance. I really only want to read this book because of the female-female romance, and it ended up not hitting me with the chemistry that I was hoping for, and the whole world building for the fantasy world just was not there. Like, things did not make sense romance. The plot wasn't there, and just altogether it was just disappointing. It's just standalone fantasy. It's about this main character, Dinalea. She is going to be married off to this prince who's about to become king. Like, eventually he's the heir. And she ends up starting to fall in love with his sister, the princess. That's just such a cute concept, but it ended up not like pulling through the way I was hoping. So it really sucks. I was hoping I would fall in love with this one. The fantasy element wasn't that great, and obviously I had some pink tabs, so they were kind of cute. Like, it was cute sometimes, but in the end it just wasn't fully developed the way I would have wanted it to like really fall in love with it. And the last 100 pages was just so hard to get through. Like, I was so bored at that point. Like, I was like, what? This plot is terrible. The next book I read is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I absolutely love this book. If you watched my videos recently, you probably already know that because I keep talking about it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I just loved it so much. It's about our main character, Liz Leidy. She is running for prom queen because in her town, prom is like such a huge deal for some reason. It's like a giant event, and this year, like, there's a prize of a scholarship if you win prom queen, and she really wants the scholarship so she can go to her dream school that her mother, who passed away a few years ago, went to. Like, she wants to go there. And I just loved her as a character. Like, I instantly connected with her. She has anxiety. Her brother is like really cute and he's like sick, and like, I just loved their relationship. It's also a female-female romance, and I really loved the romance. Like, I thought it was adorable. She kind of falls in love with a competitor who's also running for prom queen, and she was just the coolest person. Like, I literally loved her so much. And she also has an aspect of a old friend kind of coming back in her life, and they kind of mend their problems, and I really enjoyed their friendship. And she's a bisexual main character, so everything about it, I really freaking enjoyed it, and I just think it was really powerful and fantastic and cute and just everything I wanted from it, so I definitely recommend it. The next book I read was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read this on audiobook. I've had the arc of this book for ages. I got it from YALLFest one year. I never read it, and I just had no idea the hidden gem that I had, and I'm so mad that I didn't read it till now. But I definitely think the audiobook was the way to go because I'm pretty sure it's narrated by the author, and it's written in verse, so it's poetry, and it's so powerful, and especially by the author. She knows how she wanted the words to come off, so I just think it was fabulous. It's about this main character, Zia Morrow. She is Afro-Latina, and she is living in Harlem, and she's dealing with a lot of her issues of not really feeling connected to her religion anymore that her mom always pushes her into, and also she's super curvy, and she's dealing with men's attention that is like completely unwanted, and they're just being gross. She's writing all this down in her poetry book, and one day she joins a slam poetry club at her school, and I just thought it was so good. Like, it was so powerful and just beautifully written. I love her writing style, and she's definitely one of my new favorite authors, that's for sure. The next book that I read was Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles, another audiobook. I was really into audiobooks this month. Like, I just wanted to sit back, close my eyes, and listen to a good book, and I kept doing it, and it worked out. So this book is about a black teenager named Marvin. His twin brother goes missing, and he's on the search for him. Obviously, like, Tyler Johnson was here, like, he's looking for him, and I'm trying not to spoil it, but this book deals with police brutality and just the wrongs that the police have been doing for years upon years, and how they just mistreat black people in general. I definitely think this book is such an important read, so if you are able to get your hands on this book, you need to read it. Like, seriously, you gotta read it. The next book I read was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo again. This is her recently released book. It follows two sisters who don't know that they're sisters. They're half sisters. Their father was living a dual life. So one of them lives in New York City and the other one lives in the Dominican Republic. They're Afro-Latina girls. Once their father dies in a horrific plane crash, they end up finding out about each other and dealing with the grief together. And it's also written in verse. Elizabeth Acevedo's writing is just unmatched. She has such beautiful words. Like, she puts it together so beautifully. Like, I just can't. I just thought this story was fantastic. I don't know if I said it was 5 out of 5 stars or not, but it definitely was. Wow, this book made me cry. Like, the last like bit, like, I felt so many emotions. Obviously, this book is super sad because it's about grieving a parent. Holy shit. It hurt. It definitely hurt. And it got my emotions pouring out of my soul, so be warned. But I definitely think you should read this. Like, I read this one from my library on ebook, but Nicole from Nicole Reads Books on Instagram ended up getting me this book off my wish list, so thank you so much for that, because I was like already reading it and like loving it, and I really wanted a copy of it, especially since it's just one of the prettiest books I own. Like, it's so gorgeous. And the book inside is gorgeous too. So if you can pick this book up, you should. It's so fantastic. And definitely I think it's my favorite Elizabeth Acevedo book. And probably my favorite of the month. I don't know. I read a lot of good books this month. This one was just beautifully written. And one of the sisters actually has a female-female romance as well. So I think that's important to mention as well, because we love that. The next book I read was Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This one hurt so bad. Oh my gosh. The ending of this book hits in a way that I cannot explain. I was not expecting what happened. And I guess you'll kind of get why when I tell you the description of this book. It is about this girl named Claudia. It's her as an 8th grader. Like, she's a young girl. She has a best friend named Monday, and they've been best friends since they were like tiny little girls. Like, yes, they're always talking, they're always together, like they are tight, like they are best friends. And every summer Claudia like goes with her grandparents or whatever, and her and Monday would keep up with each other through letters. And this summer Monday's not responding to her letters, so she's like, what the heck? So then she finally gets home, school's about to start, and she can't find Monday anywhere. Monday's completely missing, and it doesn't seem like anybody cares. She keeps going to Monday's family, and they're being really weird about it, and like nobody seems to care that Monday isn't showing up to school, and everybody's just writing it off like, oh, Claudia, she must not like you anymore. Nah, like, no, Monday is missing. Like, where is she? So this book was crazy. And I think you should read it. Whoa, this book was really well done. I listened to it on audiobook and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars as well. Like, whoa, Tiffany D. Jackson. I instantly bought all the rest of her other books and I'm ready. Like, she is such a great author, and I was just emotional. Like, I cried. Like, so many feelings. I just really connected with Claudia, and it also had multiple timelines. You would see before Monday went missing, so you would see memories of them together. You would see after she went missing, and then like there was like years before she went missing. You would just see everything. There was, oh, I just can't, and I just need you to read it. Please go read it and cry, because it hurts. The next book I read is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is obviously another Elizabeth Acevedo book, and I listened to this one on audiobook as well. This one is actually not written in verse. Her other two were. I'm obviously really into her poetry, like her poetic writing. I love that. I was worried I wasn't gonna like this one as much because of that, but it still had her beautiful writing. Like, it still felt poetic like half the time, so I still think it was fabulous. I ended up giving this one a 4 to 5 stars though. It was pretty close. I actually read this in one day, and it's about this girl. Dang, what's her name? Why am I so bad with names? Oh, it's Amani, and she's actually a teen mom. Her daughter is 2 years old at this point, and she's about to graduate from high school, so she has been doing her thing. She has been a mom, and she has still been in school, and like she's getting her shit done, and I mad respect for that. And she also has a passion for cooking. So if you are hungry while reading this book, you are gonna die, because I was hungry while reading this book, but it was like really late in the night. Like, it was like 2 in the morning, so I guess it's the morning. Like, I don't know. I was hungry, but I wasn't gonna let myself eat such late times. It hurt because I was so hungry while reading this book. There's obviously food all over the cover, and then underneath all the food. Dang, she described that food. Like, she really described that food. Like, I wanted to eat all the food. I also like really loved hearing about the food. Like, I can't cook, but I respect people who can, and I wish I could cook better, you know? I also loved reading about her perspective as a teen mom, and how much she loves her daughter, and how much she has to do and juggle just to keep up with everything. I loved that. I will say there was like a romance, and I wasn't really that into the romance, but I mostly was just enjoying the food aspect and her as a teen mom. Like, I just loved that. Like, it was so cute, and she had a grandma who was just so cute, and I just thought it was really freaking good. Obviously, I love Elizabeth Acevedo. She's my new favorite author, as we have discovered in this video, so just go read her books. Like, they're so great. So I did say I read half of another book. I was so close to reading 10 books, man. I was so close. I had like 100 pages left of White Rage by Carol Anderson. I believe that's her name. And I borrowed this from my library. I'm reading it on my Kindle, and this is actually a nonfiction book all about racism in America, and it goes way back in our American history, just talking about all these instances, like all these terrible things that have happened to Black people in America. And it's really hard to read, as you would assume, but it's very important. It's very informative. It has a lot of information. I didn't want to speed read it, so I was reading it over this month. I was trying to do the Blackout buddy read, but obviously I failed, but I still plan to read the books and keep going, and I want to read more nonfiction books because I actually took 2 women and gender study classes, and I read a lot of essays from some of the authors that I'm wanting to read full-length books from now, and I read chapters out of some of these books, and I didn't even realize, like, how about you just go buy the full-length book and read it, like, you know, outside of class? And I think that's really important because I feel like, yes, you can get a lot out of fiction, but there's also a lot of history, and I want to learn about the history. I'm not really great at history, so it's not my strong suit, and I definitely need to fix that, read more, figure out what really has happened in the world. There's so many terrible things that have happened in this world, and I want to educate myself and continue to better myself. So I don't think I'm going to rate these books, the nonfiction books I'm going to read, because I don't really know how to rate nonfiction books, and how do you rate true facts and information that happened? Like, I don't know. But I'm just going to read it and soak in the information the way that I can. I'll keep you updated with that. I should finish this book in July. I would hope so. And I also read Brittany from Brittany Ann Books' book that she wrote. I was beta reading it for her. She's a fantastic writer, and you should go subscribe to her, by the way. She does writing and book videos, and she's just awesome. So go subscribe if you haven't already. So that is it. Those are all the books that I read. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like it, comment down below, have a good day, please subscribe. Also, let me know if you've read any of these books or if you want to in the future. And how about you comment a sunflower emoji down below if you finish this video. I always love seeing who actually finishes the video. It's interesting. Please subscribe, make sure to follow all of my social medias, which are linked down below, and go click the bell button, which is right by the subscribe button, which you should have already clicked, and goodbye.